Hi everyone, thanks for coming in. I think we'll get started. Um, there are going to be probably a few more coming in as we go, but I'll just let them in as we go. So, and as I speak, there is somebody else coming in. Just bear. I will be letting everybody in as we go. So I'm doing IT as well as presenting tonight. So please just bear with me. All right, just let these last few people in. And I'll get started very, very shortly. But I do want to say thank you all for coming into the webinar tonight. I know it's Tuesday night. It's not something you want to be doing on your night off. I'll just keep letting everybody in as we go. But I appreciate you being here and showing up for your own success as well. Tonight is the information webinar really about little tips and tricks on how you can restructure your lending, what you can do for yourselves to actually try and beat all this inflation and the interest rates and everything that are going on that we're all dealing with. So I just wanted to thank you and acknowledge you for coming on tonight and making the effort. So we appreciate that. All right, I will let everybody else in as they come in, but I will get started. So first of all, it is really it's about trying to work on your own finance at the moment, your own income and expenses, manage everything that's going on for you the best way you can, that we know how. And that's really what tonight's about. There will be a few little calculations in there. We do have an activity that I want you to actually do with me. And so if you've got a pen and paper handy, that would be fantastic. And you can write it down. And if all goes to plan and this my recording works, then you will actually be able to have a copy of this afterwards as well if you would like it. So I'll get started from here. All right. So let me make sure I can get the next slide. All right. So I'm just going to go through the agenda. I don't want to keep you any more than an hour. We'll just get straight into it tonight. There will be a chance for questions and answers at the end. So any questions and answers that you need or any questions you've got, please just have them ready, write them down, and then I'll get you to pop them into the chat box afterwards so that we can go through them and answer as many as possible. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of an introduction, first of all, to the Accelerate group and to myself. Some of you know me, some of you don't, particularly if Brooke or Sally look after you as your mortgage broker. So you won't have met me before, but I'll introduce you to Accelerate and myself. So, and bear with me with my IT. Okay. So the Accelerate group really started with Accelerate Finance. The mortgage broking business is where it all started. And it's grown into not just finance, but what I've found over, nearly 19, 20 years being a mortgage broker, self-employed mortgage broker, that it's not just the finance. It's not just about writing a home loan for you. Yes, that's a transactional type of thing, but it's also more about what your strategy is and how you're going to create your wealth down the track and how you can structure yourself a little bit better so that you're actually getting doing things the smart way, particularly at the moment with inflation and interest rates where they're going. You need to do it as best you can. So that's where Accelerate Finance, oops, sorry, my screen went back. Okay, so Accelerate Finance down the bottom here is where it all started. Accelerate Wealth then became out of that. Now, I used to be a financial planner at one point in my life. My problem was that, as most financial planners have the same problem, I couldn't talk about property. I've been buying property since I was 20, and I'm a property nut. So for me not to be able to recommend any sort of property or help people with that side of it made it, very difficult, because I couldn't recommend managers when I didn't do that myself. So hence the reason I got out of that and set up the financial coaching business instead, where I educate my clients on what the different types of property are, whether it's a high cash flow property, a high growth property, whether it's a subdivision or a development of some sort, And then you make your decision based on the education that you get as to what is best for you with my guidance, but a little bit different to being a financial planner. So that's where Accelerate Wealth came from. Then obviously we had people that were saying, well, now we know we want to build our wealth, but how do we find the properties? So hence the reason Accelerate Property came along. That's very, very recent. So I have got my full real estate license to do that. Yeah, that's kind of come along the way because of trying to find the right properties for people to buy. And I like to buy into the development first to make sure that it actually works. I'm getting results before I tell anybody else about it. So that's where Accelerate Property came into it. And of course, whenever you've got property or investment properties, you need a good accountant. I needed somebody that could do what I needed for myself, companies and trusts and tax returns with investment property. And so we set up Accelerate Accounting. Now that's run by David Stewart. I don't own it at all. I don't have any income from it. It's purely that he understands what we do. He looks after my tax, and that's why I brought him into the group to trade under the Accelerate brand. So that's about Accelerate as far as a group goes. Now, as far as myself, yes, I'm the founder and owner of the Accelerate Group. Finance and lending career started straight out of year 12 at 17 as a trainee in the credit union, and then running my own business for the last almost 19, 20 years. Like I said, been investing in property since I was 20. I did a lot of property early in my life. We all sort of come up to times in our life that are kind of difficult with divorces and things, but I did quite well up until that point, and then started again. So to date, I'm just back in January signed for my 18th property. Now that's by no means anything to impress you by. That's pure. I've made some good judges of what I've needed to do and on property. I've also made plenty of mistakes. So everybody gets the benefit of going by or learning from me and what I've done, good and bad, over those 18 properties now. So anyway, from here, once we get people into your own home and start by building some wealth, we need to be able to replace your job income with passive income. Now, that really gives you your time back. And, you know, some people aren't aware what passive income is. And for those who don't know, it's while you get paid, whether you get out of bed or not in the morning, you're getting paid. And that's the sort of income that I'm trying to help you to achieve, and replace your job income with that passive income. So then you've got your time back and you're able to go and do what you really want to do. Or if you want to keep working, that's fine. But at least you're working on your terms because you want to work and you're doing what you want to do, not because you have to work. Okay, so that's my passion. It's all about helping people, like I said, replace their job income with passive income and then become debt-free so that then you've got your choices in life and get your time back. Okay, so I am a licensed finance broker, financial coach, buyer's agent. I'm under the real estate side. I have 9 amazing staff members that work with me as part of the Accelerate Group. Some of them you will deal with and know already, some you won't. And I am a mum of 3 kids, and they're very, very patient children, thank goodness, but that's me. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, the cost of living, everyone's obviously realising the impact of the interest rate. I'm still letting people in as we go here, so bear with me. And the inflation, of course, is causing those rises as well. So the way you manage your money, if you can do it in a smarter way, where you're not actually having to pay extra off your home loan, you're just using the bank's facilities in a smarter way, then that gives you so many benefits, which I'm going to show you a little later on. So it's keeping ahead of all those financial challenges. And after we actually get those challenges sorted out, then we see how we can create that passive income. And I'm going to show you a little bit about that as well. So let's keep going from here. All right, so financial freedom is whatever it is for you. It's different for everybody, But most clients tend to tell me it's the time to do what they want to do. When they're free, they have the time, they have the money without having to go trade hours for dollars and go to a job every day. And they're debt-free and or stress-free from the financial pressure. And you don't have to be debt-free to be stress-free, if I can emphasize that. If you have your money under control and you're able to manage that properly, you can still have debt and not be stressed, not have the stress, so still be stress-free from the financial pressure. And under Accelerate Wealth, that's where we really try and focus on that and getting your money management under control and your budgeting, and you know exactly how much money needs to come out of where and go to where in the time frame it needs to go to it. So basically, in a nutshell, being financially free, and what most people tell me is having the time to do what they want to do, having the money to get paid, whether they get out of bed in the morning or they don't, and the stress-free or the debt-free side. So what isn't financial freedom is obviously not having any plan and not knowing when you're going to be able to exit the workforce. Also overspending. When you spend more than you earn every pay period, that's not a great position to be in. Nobody likes it. The interest rates at the moment aren't helping that cause, and it leads to the financial stress, of course. Okay. So when you have control and you've got your money management under control, you've always got your spending, obviously, that you always have enough to last the week. When you've got, these are 3 accounts that I actually set up: a spending account, a bills account, and a savings account, and hence the reason they're listed here. So your spending account, you always need to make sure you've got enough to last the week. Bills, if you've always got the money sitting there aside, your accounts are direct debit, your bills are direct debited straight out of that account, and you've then got your excess money building up in your savings. Although I know too many people may not feel they have too much in savings at the moment. So you can have control. Budget is a horrible word. It sounds like a diet to me. I don't like it. But it's an understanding more so of just knowing where your income and expenses are going every week, what's coming in, what's going out, and then managing that properly so that you've got your buckets of money set up and you know exactly what's going on. So it helps you to be under control, eliminate the stress to a degree. And the other thing is your correct lending structure. So this is the big one about how to beat the banks by using their own products to work for you so that you're not paying as much interest and you some money and able to get out of that debt much quicker. So, okay, I'm just letting some further bear with me. Okay, so what is an offset account? There are different types of products with the lenders. So you've got variable rate home loans and you've got fixed rate home loans. The variable rate, for the most of the lenders, you can have an offset account work against it. With a fixed rate, most of them won't allow an offset account. However, there is the odd exception. So how it works, say for example, you've got a home loan balance of $500,000. Then you've got an offset account. Now, an offset account is just an everyday transaction account, which is called an offset, and it's linked behind the scenes to the home loan. So it's just a normal everyday bank account. We just get linked behind the scenes. So when you've got an offset account, if you owe $500,000 on your home loan, and if you had $10,000 in your offset account, the bank will only charge you interest on the gap, which in this case would be on $490. So when you're actually, this money here could be savings, it could be your pay, it could be rental income, it could be a combination of all of that. But when that is sitting in offset accounts, it is saving you so much interest, which I will show you in the program that we can work this out for you. So if there is anything you can take away from tonight, if you find 5 cents, put it in your offset account. Every cent needs to be in those offset accounts working for you, and you'd be amazed at the savings that you'll make. All right, now this is to show you a little bit of an example from a real statement and talk about what's been going on with the lenders to date. So as some of you may be aware, there's been cashbacks from lenders. So if you refinance your home loan to their bank, ABC Bank, whatever that is, they have been paying between $2,000 to $4,000 for you to refinance your loan. However, all most people are doing in those is actually comparing the interest rate and the fees. That's it. And unfortunately, most lenders, whether that's brokers or banks, that's all they can compare for you as well, is the interest rate and the fees. But when you actually structure with an offset account, you can see an enormous amount of savings. So this is where it's really important. And generally, there is no calculator out there that will tell you what you're going to save with an offset account. Luckily for us, Chris Rule, who is my business partner in Accelerate Wealth, he's an enormous amount of knowledge, he's a wealth of knowledge, and he built a program which, as a financial planner for 35 years, he was all about getting people out of debt before investing into something that wasn't going to give them as much as a high enough return, tax-free. So I'm going to explain a little bit about the interest side here, but then I will show you how you can put your own numbers into the program and see what that will do for you if you use offset accounts as well. So in this example, this is my statement actually for one of my properties. So back on the 11th of November, down to the 21st of April, you can see we've got the interest rate started at 5.74. We managed to get an interest rate reduction by doing a pricing request to the lender. And for those of you who have loans with us currently, you may have noticed getting an email from Kath or Veronica. We are actually doing pricing requests on your loans every quarter. So we're asking the bank for a higher discount every single quarter. If we can't get one from the bank, you won't know about it. We don't rub it in. But if you do get one, we email you and tell you the good news. So in this case, the girls were able to get my rate down a little more. Then the interest rates went up again. We got a little bit more discount, and then they've gone up again and again. So what I want to explain here is I'm going to go by this amount of $365.95 that was charged on the 21st of April. So the interest amount charged was $365.95. At the time, my balance was $97,504.43, which is here in yellow. Now, the calculation I'm doing here is working out the effective rate of interest that I was actually charged. Even though my rate is 5.62, I'm working out the rate I was actually charged, being $365. So here we go, got the $365.95 by 12 months. Gives me $439.140 is the interest that would be for the year, because interest is always 5.62% in this case per annum. Divide that by the balance at the time, times it by 100 to get to the percentage. So my effective rate of interest for that amount of $365.95, even though my actual rate is 5.62%, I was only charged 4.5%. which is 1.12% below what I'm actually technically being charged. Now, the reason for this is because I have money in offset accounts that were linked. So if I imagine for a moment I'm not a broker, and if I came to my broker and said, my rate's 5.62%, I would like to consider going to a fixed rate at 5%, would be a good idea, given that rate really that I was paying at that particular month was only 4.5% on the variable. Probably not. So this is where you can see the actual difference in what you're actually being charged and the effective rate of interest rather than the actual rate. So feel free to write down that calculation or take a screenshot if you want to, but more than happy to help you understand that as well if you'd like to know that. So as we move on, now this one here, this is then stage 2 of using your offset accounts effectively. So one offset account is fine. That gives you what you need. What I like to do is give you 3 offset accounts when you just have your normal home loan. So what we do then is have all of your wages paid into your savings account, as I nickname it. So this is just a normal offset account or normal transaction account, which we have linked to your home loan, but it must be an offset. So I generally have my clients put all of their money into their savings account. We then work out, by doing the budgeting process through Accelerate Wealth, how much they need to spend every pay period. So whether you're paid weekly, fortnightly or monthly, how much money you need to have in your spending for your everyday costs. And they are like your food, anything that's not a direct debit. So a food, your groceries, your eating out, coffees, lunches through the day of work, anything that's petrol, for example, anything that's not a set amount that'll be debited every month. So that's your spending. Then we've got your bills account. Now your bills is where you have things like your home and contents insurance if it's debited monthly, your car insurance if it's debited monthly, your phone bills, internet, Stan, Netflix, all of those sorts of things would all be direct debited straight out of your bills account. And you'd already have the money sitting there ready to go. So you never have to worry. We also allocate an amount for your power bills, gas, all of those things, registration for your car, all of those types of things. We work out how much it is on an annual basis and then work it out per fortnight, per month, per week, however often you're paid. Now, they are just the 3 base accounts. If you wanted to have kids accounts or a holiday account or anything else, you can have other ones. But ideally, just as a basis, we start with 3. Now, those 3 accounts are all offsetting, and they are here offsetting your home loan. So not all banks will actually allow you to have multiple offset accounts. They know the power of them, and they won't allow you generally to do it. There are only a handful of banks that will let you do this. So you've got the 3 here, which I allow first of all, and then as you have investment properties, I set up an additional one. And so that all of your rent can go in, all your expenses can come out, and all of that money is linked to your owner-occupied home loan as well, not the investment property. Your investment property loans, the interest is tax deductible. Now, I'm not giving tax advice, it's just a fact. That the interest on your investment property loans is tax deduction. So if we're going to pay the same amount of interest anyway, why not save the interest on your owner-occupied debt, on your PPR, and pay higher, if you're going to look at it that way, on your investment property, which at least you can claim on your tax. So this is a little bit more complex, but what I'm trying to say is that you can set up with multiple offset accounts with certain lenders that will let you have up to, some of them are 9 or 10 offset accounts. There is the odd couple of lenders that will give you up to 99 offset accounts. But when you have all of your money working for you and you can separate your accounts out, that is going to save you an awful amount of interest. Okay, so next one from here. All right, so why are we using offset accounts? And this is an example. So this was actually a real client situation, and I've done a screenshot of this, but I am going to show you the real thing as well. So now, some of the reasons you would use offset accounts rather than pay money straight off the loan itself, if the loan is, say, your own home, and let's assume that if the property's worth 850,000, we've got a debt of 500,000, and you've got your offset accounts against it. Now, if you put all your extra money in that savings offset and let that build to a point that you've got, let's say, $100,000 in it, we're talking over time, could be 50,000, doesn't matter what it is. If you've got the option to leave it in that offset account or pay it off the debt itself, part of it comes down to your money management side of it alone, first of all, to make sure that you don't accidentally spend it if it's sitting in an offset account, and some people have it in a redraw instead. However, if there's any chance that you may upgrade your own home down the track and rent that property out because you want to keep it, then effectively, if you've paid the loan down, and then you redraw back out to go spend onto your own home, you've just done a redraw amount that's gone to an owner-occupied purpose. So the amount you've redrawn by is not a tax deductible amount anymore. I know that's a lot to cover and understand, so don't worry if you didn't cover that or understand what I was saying. But what I am trying to say is if you put that in the offset account instead, you actually haven't paid down the loan itself, but you can use the money in that offset account to go towards your new home without losing the tax deductions on the current loan. Okay, so I can go through that more with people one-on-one if need be later on. So in this particular scenario, this is just a simulator version of Chris's program, and it shows effectively what an offset account can do. So up the top here, I've got client 1 with $120,000 a year in income. I have client 2 with $50,000. Down here, we've got their asset worth $850,000, so this is their own home, and the debt of $500,000. Okay, now for the sake of this, I've assumed they have no credit cards, car loans, personal loans, or any other debt. Their living expenses per month are about $3,500 per month. So that's not including the mortgage repayment or any other loans, it's just pure living expenses. Okay, food, groceries, petrol, insurances, that sort of thing. Now, in this scenario, I've also allowed a $5,000 holiday each year because this calculator is reality. It's not a bank calculator. I've also put the interest rate at 6%, which is on the higher end of where we're at the moment, but we're pretty close to it these days. Now, if these particular clients have all of their money working for them in the offset account properly, they can be out of their loan in 7.5 years. Down here in the table, 7 years and 5 months instead of 30 years. They've also been able to save $563,000 approximately in interest. Now, this is massive. This is why an offset account is so, so important, and I'm offset all the way. Hence the reason I'm pushing the point to help you understand this. So with this particular client's loan, it's taken over 30 years, but by putting their money through their offset accounts, sticking with just paying $3,500 a month in living expenses and their normal payment on their home loan, they can actually be out of that debt in about 7.5 years approximately. So that's pretty good going instead of 30 years. Okay, now what we can also do in here, and this is where it gets to people that are looking at buying investment properties, we can actually put in a new property. We can put in the purchase price, we can put in the loan amount and the rental income, and it will tell you down here in the table whether it will take you longer time to pay off your own home or if it'll be quicker, and also how long it should take you to get out of the whole debt. So it's really, really helpful when you're buying a property to know whether that's going to improve your situation or make it worse. So it's this little part here is where I use the simulator. However, when Chris puts the details into his full program, which is much more complex than what I'm showing you here, it will give you very accurate results, and it will actually break it down into a month-by-month table where you actually see how much you should have in liabilities in total for the end of the month and how much in offset accounts. And that will go through month by month and calculate it out for you. And Chris, if you have an appointment with Chris, or you have in the past, you will see he probably will get you to pull out the calculator, add up everything, because it looks too good to be true. Okay, but you need to add it up, you need to see it, and it's broken down month by month. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is also just show you the actual calculator. So this one here is the figures that I put in before. You can see that's all there, 7 years and 5 months. Now, if I put, say, the purchase price here of a property, I'm going to go with one of my properties, 410, it cost me. Assuming that I borrow the whole lot here using equity, and I don't put any cash in myself, that would be a loan of about 431, because I would need to borrow the whole lot for stamp duty, government fees, solicitor fees, all the costs to get into that property. Now, the rental income on this one, I'm going to be a little conservative. Mine is a high cash flow property. It's giving me about $57,000 a year. So it depends on the property you're buying, whether it's a traditional property, which is going to grow in value and that's where you'll make your money, or if it's a high cash flow property that's going to give you the higher return here and help you to get out of your debt quicker. And there's valid points for all sorts of property. It just depends on what you need for your own situation. Okay, so now I've put those details in. You can see it's still about 7.5 years to pay off my own home, or their own home in this case, and 12 years and 2 months in total to own both homes freehold, saving about $460,000 in interest. So it's a really good program to give you the what if situation. What if you bought this property? What does it look like for you down here? If you bought a different property, what does that look like for you? But it helps you to guide, it will be guided as to what is going to be best for you and your situation based purely on the outcome and the numbers. So Chris would do this for you with the full program. I just use the little simulator version because it's much simpler for everybody to understand. Okay, now just going back to our presentation. Okay, next page. So what I would like you to do is, if you've got a pen and paper handy, I would like you to work out, if you had no debt, all of your home loans, investment property loans, car loans, personal loans, everything was paid in full, how much would you need to just live per week? Just pay your normal living expenses and live comfortably. Okay. Now, the example I've given here is one that most clients tell me a figure of. This is for a normal mum and dad couple. They generally will give me somewhere around the $1,500 per week when they're debt free with no mortgage to pay, usually around about the $1,500 just to pay the necessities and live. Okay, we're not talking massive overseas holidays here. We're talking just getting enough to be able to live comfortably and build from there. So if you needed $1,500 per week, and you can put down whatever your figure is that you need, times that out by 52 weeks, annual figure is giving you about $78,000 per annum net after tax. Now, we need to gross that figure up. So you've got 78 per annum net. Grossed up before tax is about $100,000 a year, thereabouts. So if you could create a passive income of $100,000 per annum and be debt-free, could you retire on that? Would that give you the option to stop working and get your time back and live how you want to live? So the goal here for this particular case of $1,500 a week is about $100,000 a year gross figure before tax is taken out. And then it's a matter of, where is that going to come from? Are you going to get that income through super, through property, through shares or managed funds? And yes, well, we don't want a pension. If we can avoid it, that's not going to give us anywhere near this figure. So that's the first stage there. Hopefully you've just got that calculation down or been able to work out your own number. Next, this is one of my properties I've just included here. Same one I put in before, but I've done my actual numbers in this case. That particular property for the last 12 months has brought in $61,000. These are the real numbers. Then I've got the expenses, of $25,000. Now, they were things like property management, council rates, water rates, insurance, body corporate, all of those costs that you have associated with a property. So round figures, $25,000. So my net profit on that property is about $37,000. Now, this is on the assumption that the debt is paid in full. So at the moment, I have a mortgage on it and I'm paying the mortgage off accordingly. However, when that mortgage is gone, I can then contribute $37,000 towards that goal from back here of $100,000. I hope that makes sense. So property one, if I'm getting $37,000 from that, I then, for investment property two, repeat the above, I've then got $74,000 towards my $100,000. This is still taxable. This is still taxable, the same as the $100,000 that we've got to talk apples with apples. And if you're doing a third property, then we need to have a chat as to exactly where you're heading, what you're trying to achieve, and what that third property might look like. In this case here, we've got 2 high cash flow properties. The figures that we do in that program that I mentioned of Chris's is purely based on cash flow and on numbers. It's not predicting any sort of growth. The growth is a bonus, okay? But when it comes to investment property 3, I'm all about minimising the risk and diversifying. And once you've got 2 high cash flows, I'll probably look at something with a growth situation in there, or something you can subdivide, or something that is going to give you another purpose on how you can make money from that property and force the value on the property. We don't just want to have one that you buy and sit there for too long unless there's a good reason. Okay, which could be depreciation and save you tax on these ones, but that's another conversation. Okay, over here. Now, this is just a little bit of a snapshot on one of my oldest clients, not old in age, but old in the length of time I've been looking after Connie. Sorry, my screen keeps going. Now, Connie started with me 16 years ago, and I'm going to play her little testimonial here. It's more so about understanding where she came from, her and her husband, and where they were at when they started. So hopefully you can hear this okay. It's only a couple of minutes, and we'll keep going.
When I first met Dione, I was living in a government house, a 2-bedroom government flat with my partner Chris, and we were interested in looking at buying a house. At that stage I was cleaning car parks.
Oops, sorry. Flipping back on me. All right, in case I'm going to go to our webpage where it is instead.
When I first met Dione, I was living in a government house, a 2-bedroom government flat with my partner Chris, and we were interested in looking at buying a house. At that stage I was cleaning car parks at 4 o'clock in the morning, and Chris was just trying to establish our landscaping business. So we were in a bit of a rock of a hard place because we wanted to get into our own home, but no one would lend us any money because of our financial situation. Well, Dione helped us acquire our first home, which was in Canberra, and that was a beautiful home. And we established ourselves there, and then we moved on to starting to, with Dione, she explained to us what houses could do for us. Instead of just going and earning a wage, that we could actually get more money through owning properties. So with that, we then looked at, we waited a couple of years and had enough equity in our first home, and we bought a place in that was going to grow. So, and we did that, and we realised it wasn't going to grow as quickly as possible, and we thought, well, how can we make this happen quicker? Because we started later, I was only 40. I was 40 years old when I first met Dione, so I started our journey a bit later than most people do. So we wanted to speed up the process of building a property empire. Now I am now doing a bus, and I'm going to travel, and I also spend time with my grandkids, and I don't have any financial worries. I'm in control of my own funds. They're not tied up with any banks. I've got money in the bank that I can buy whatever I want because I want to increase my passive income flow and live the life I want. Do it. No one else is going to help you realise your dreams and enable you to dream bigger than Dione. So the first property that we built, that was bought, was our home in the ACT, and that was in 2007. And to date, we've bought and sold 12 properties. The net profit has been over $2.7 million. Passive income is over $100,000 a year.
Okay, let me go back to here. So that's Connie. I'm very proud of where she started, where she's at today, and she's also teaching all of her kids, her stepkids, the nieces and nephews, the cousins, and she's a great role model in there, renovating. She's doing all sorts of things. So very, very proud of where she's come from and where she's at now. And you may have missed it, but she's actually renovating a bus to travel around the country. So she sends me videos every now and again when she's done that. Okay.
When I first met Dione, I was living in a government house.
Sorry about this. We'll just close this one down. All right. Now, from here. All right. So from here, it's just a matter now of where we're at, where we've gone through, and how you can do something for yourself from here. So it's about understanding your own income and expenses, restructuring your lending so that you've got it working for you. If that's the biggest thing I can tell you and emphasize, is understanding that you've got your money structured properly. And unfortunately, a lot of your lenders out there in the banks don't get taught this. They work for the banks that are there to make the millions and billions of dollars in profit. They're not going to teach their staff how to help you structure your lending properly. I've learned this because I do it myself. I've gone through, I've learned. Everything I tell you is coming from, not from what you learn in books or from doing the job of lending, but it's from actually investing myself. I'm an investor as well as a lender, and I love helping people understand what they can actually achieve and what they can do for themselves. So hence the reason the financial coaching is there. And if you've got anything out of tonight that you can take away, I'm hoping that it's about the offset accounts. Okay, so secondly, think about what financial freedom is for you. Getting out of your debt as a priority, and then creating a secondary income that you can actually help get out of that debt more quickly, and growing that into a passive income that you can eventually replace your job with. So from here, your next step, you've got Chris from Accelerate Wealth, who has the program I've shown you. If you would like to have your own numbers put into the program, get a report and see exactly where you could be at, and get that strategy appointment worked out and the strategy that you need for you, depending on what it is for your future, you can book in an appointment with Chris. You'll have a good hour on Zoom with him, and it's at a fee of $99. Secondly, once you know what your strategy is and so forth and what you're going to do next, you can book in with your Accelerate Finance mortgage broker, and I'm going to bring up the girls' details in a moment. But they can help you to restructure your lending if need be, and also make sure that those offset accounts are working for you, as well as getting the lowest interest rate or the highest discount on those interest rates as possible. So over the page here, I've got Brooke, who some of you will already be dealing with, and clients of Brooke's. Same with Sally. Sally and Brooke are my two mortgage brokers. And then we've got Chris as well, who will be looking after Accelerate Wealth. So if you'd like to do the strategy appointment with him, feel free. You can take a photo of the screen and with the QR code for Chris. I also will put the details of the links in the chat. Actually, I think somebody has already done that for me. So they're in the chat as well. Or you can put your phone camera over one of the links here for the QR code, and that will bring up either Brooke's calendar, Sally's calendar, Chris's calendar, or mine, of course, if you've come from my client list as well. Okay, so from here, now we've got any questions and answers session that you would like. So I'm going to come back to this one just so that you've got that here for anyone wanting to book in with your broker or with Chris. And if there's any questions at all, if you'd like to put them in the chat box, more than happy to answer them, or feel free to book in an appointment time and we can have a chat through as well. So that's where, unless there's some questions, I'm going to let everybody go for the night. But feel free to put them in the chat box, and or feel free to email them to me as well. You can always email broker or Money at Accelerate as well. Sorry, I've just lost the screen. Okay, So the money at acceleratefinance.com.au will come through to us if you've got any questions you'd rather ask that way, or feel free to reach out to your broker or to Chris or myself. Okay. But okay. Okay, so I have a question here, just in regard, thanks Danielle, just how much money do you need in super to buy an investment property? Now, your self-managed super fund side of things, you can buy property in self-managed super fund. Now, the minimum figure that we're told, because we can't do the financial planning side of it, is generally at least 200,000. So 200 to 250 really is your minimum to make it worthwhile. So when it comes, Danielle, into buying in an SMSF, have a chat to us first, because we have to make sure you can get the loan in the self-managed super fund, as well as that you've got enough money there to do that, because you do need to put a higher deposit in. Generally, it's at least 20% plus your costs, depending on where the property is. So hopefully that helps answer, but yeah, you need a 20% deposit, a minimum, plus your costs, and we just need to make sure that you've got enough in the super fund before you go rolling it over from your industry super fund or wherever it is currently. Okay. Okay, Peter has sent a question as well, just asking about the okay, thank you. I'm glad the presentation was helpful. I hope somebody or everybody got something out of it. So that's fantastic. Commercial properties, yes, just depends on exactly what you're looking to do, Peter, on that. So perhaps we can have a chat off the webinar about what you need with this commercial side of things. Okay. Sue, how can you tap into little equity one has without refinancing? Okay, so even if you're on a fixed rate, if you've got equity there, we can do a loan. It just has to be with that existing lender for you to not break that fixed rate. If you are going to break the fixed rate, we check on if there was a penalty first. For most people, generally with the fixed rates, if they're on good rates, they're on fixed rates that are below the variable. So if you were to break that fixed rate, you'd be going to a higher interest rate. On the bank is generally going to be able to lend out that money that you've just paid back at a higher interest rate. Now, generally, you shouldn't be charged a penalty in that case. If it was the other way around and you were paying 5% on your fixed rate and you wanted to pay that off and change to a rate at 3%, the bank is going to lose money. That's where they charge you the penalty. Now, I am talking generally because I have seen a lender charge when I don't think they should have before. So it's in general terms that I am saying that. But it's always a case of checking with your bank and asking what the payout penalty would be if you were to break that fixed rate early. Otherwise, Sue, you could refinance it if there wasn't much of a penalty to somewhere else, but you've got to be aware that you wouldn't be on that rate. You'd be getting whatever the rates are currently. Okay. Okay, so I've got one from Trent, thank you. 5.44 on a variable rate is generally okay at the moment. It's pretty good actually. So we can always look and see if we can get anything better for you, but I will also be keen to see what your effective rate of interest is if you've got offset accounts working as well. Okay. Danielle, yeah, you've got your SMS, that's great, thank you. Okay, and Deanne, up to 6 members in an SMSF to help. Okay, yes, again, the SMSF question is really for a financial planner that sets up a self-managed super fund, but to my knowledge, yes, you can have 6 members in the SMSF to help with the borrowing capacity side of things. It's just whether you want all of your super combined in one self-managed super fund is probably more the question I would be asking. So hopefully that helps answer. But anyone that does want to buy in a self-managed super fund, I can put you on to somebody who could give you that advice if you would like it. Okay. Any other questions from anyone? Otherwise, I will leave you to your night. Okay, I think we've answered everything. So in that case, we've done that. thank you very much for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. Well, just please feel free to reach out, book any appointments in that you would like. The links are in the chat again, and hopefully you've got some value from tonight. Okay, thanks for everyone, and I will leave the screen up with the links just in case anyone needs it any further. Okay, thank you.